I'm Jeremy Grantham. I'm 86 years old, and I've spent over 50 years studying market cycles and investment bubbles. I predicted the dot-com crash in 2000. I warned about the housing crisis in 2007. Today my firm manages over $100 billion. But here's what most people don't know. In 1974, I watched my entire portfolio get cut in half during the worst bear market since the Great Depression. I was 36 years old, married with a young child, and I watched 18 months of gains evaporate in 6 weeks. I thought I was being smart. I thought I understood markets, and yet there I was, watching everything I'd built collapse because I made the same mistake everyone makes when they're starting out. I was focused on getting rich instead of staying rich. That brutal lesson taught me something most financial advisors will never tell you. You don't need millions to retire early. You need $300,000 and a plan that actually works. Not hope, not luck, not some fantasy about timing the market perfectly. I'm talking about a systematic approach based on 50 years of watching people retire successfully and watching people work until they're 75 because they believed the lies the financial industry sells. If you have $300,000 saved, or you're close to it, or you're wondering if early retirement is even possible for someone like you, this might be the most valuable 40 minutes you spend this year. Because I'm going to show you exactly how to turn $300,000 into lifetime income that lets you retire in your 50s, maybe even your late 40s, while everyone else is grinding away for another 20 years. And if that sounds impossible, good. That means you haven't been brainwashed by the financial industry yet. Let's begin. If this resonates with you, hit that like button right now. First, let me tell you why $300,000 is actually the perfect amount to retire early. Not $1 million, not $2 million. Exactly $300,000. And it has nothing to do with what financial advisors tell you. Here's what the financial industry wants you to believe. They want you to think you need $1.5 million to retire at 65. They show you calculators that say you need 25 times your annual spending. They scare you with stories about running out of money at 90. And you know why they do this? Because if you think you need $1, $5 million, you'll keep working, keep earning, keep contributing to your 401k, and keep paying them management fees for another 20 years. They make more money the longer you work, so they have every incentive to tell you that you don't have enough. But here's the truth I learned after 50 years in this business. The amount you need to retire has almost nothing to do with a specific number. It has everything to do with 3 things: your burn rate, your income sources, and your willingness to live in reality instead of fantasy. Most people fail at early retirement not because they don't have enough money. They fail because they're trying to retire into a lifestyle they can't afford. They want to quit work but keep spending like they're still earning $80,000 a year. That's not retiring early. That's just unemployment with a nice name. So let me show you why $300,000 is enough if you understand how money actually works. At $300,000, you have 3 massive advantages that people with more money often waste. Advantage 1, your money is still flexible. When you have $2 million, you start thinking like a rich person. You start believing you can afford anything. You buy the bigger house, the nicer car, the expensive vacations. And suddenly that $2 million isn't generating freedom, it's generating expenses. But with $300,000, you're still in survival mode. You're still thinking clearly. You can't waste money. And that mindset, that discipline, is worth more than an extra $500,000 in the bank. Advantage 2. Your expectations are realistic. People with $1 million think they can retire and spend $60,000 a year forever. They can't. But people with $300,000 know they need to be strategic. They know they can't just pull 4% and hope it works. They have to build multiple income streams. They have to think creatively. And that forces them to build a better retirement than the people with more money. Advantage 3, you're not trapped by your assets. I see people all the time with $800,000 sitting in their 401k, and they're miserable at work, but they won't retire because they're terrified of touching that money. They've been told their whole life that retirement accounts are sacred, that you never touch them before 59 and a half. So they stay in jobs they hate, waiting for some magic date when they're finally allowed to use their own money. That's insane. With $300,000, you're not trapped. You can move it, use it, structure it in ways that make sense for your life right now, not some theoretical future version of yourself. Now, here's what I need you to understand. Retiring early with $300,000 is absolutely possible, but only if you're willing to accept reality. And reality means 3 non-negotiable truths. Truth 1, you're not retiring to do nothing. You're retiring from your current job to do something better. Maybe that's part-time work you actually enjoy. Maybe that's a small business. Maybe it's consulting or freelancing. But you're not going to sit on a beach for 40 years. Nobody actually wants that anyway. Truth 2, you're not going to spend like you did when you were working. If you were spending $60,000 a year while working, you're going to spend $35,000 to $45,000 in early retirement. And that's fine, because you're not commuting, you're not buying work clothes, you're not spending money on convenience because you're exhausted. Your life costs less when you have time. Truth 3, you're going to live somewhere affordable. Not necessarily cheap, but affordable. You're not retiring early to a high-cost city. You're retiring to a place where $2,000 a month covers your housing, where property taxes are reasonable, where you don't need $400 a month for car insurance. Geography matters more than almost anything else in early retirement. Most people won't accept these 3 truths. They want to retire early and keep living like they're still working. And those people fail. They burn through $300,000 in 8 years, and then they're broke at 58, trying to get hired for jobs that don't want them. Don't be that person. Let me ask you something honest. Are you scared you'll never retire at all? If that fear keeps you up at night, comment what scares you most about retirement and add this at the end, but I will win this fight. Your honesty might help someone else facing the same fear. Because here's what most people are too afraid to admit. They're not really planning for retirement. They're just hoping something works out. They're throwing money into a 401k and praying it's enough. They're listening to podcasts about financial independence and then doing nothing different. And every year that passes, the fear gets worse. So let's stop hoping and start planning. I'm about to give you the exact 7-step plan to retire early with $300,000. Each step has specific actions, specific timelines, and specific numbers. By the time we're done, you'll know exactly what to do in month 1, what to do in month 6, what to do in year 2, and where you need to be to actually pull this off. This isn't theory. This is the same approach I've watched work for 50 years. Let's start with step 1. Step 1 happens right now, today, and it's the most important step. Get brutally honest about your burn rate. If you don't know exactly how much money you need to live, you cannot retire early. You just can't. Most people have no idea what they actually spend. They know their big expenses like rent and car payments, but they're completely blind to the $3,000 a month that disappears on food, subscriptions, random purchases, and things they can't even remember buying. So, here's what you do. For the next 90 days, track every single dollar that leaves your account. Not estimates, actual numbers. Rent, utilities, groceries, gas, insurance, subscriptions, eating out, entertainment, clothes, everything. And at the end of 90 days, you multiply by 4, and you have your annual burn rate. Now here's the hard part. You have to cut that number by 30% to 40%. If you're spending $60,000 a year now, you need to get to $40,000. And that means you make real changes. You get rid of the $400 car payment by selling the car and buying a $8,000 used vehicle with cash. You cut your housing cost by moving to a smaller place or a cheaper area. You eliminate subscriptions you don't actually use. You cook at home instead of spending $600 a month eating out. This is not poverty. This is not suffering. This is living like a normal person instead of living like an American consumer who's been marketed to death for 30 years. And here's why this matters. If your burn rate is $40,000 a year and you have $300,000 saved, you need to generate $40,000 annually from your money plus whatever side income you create. That's a 13.3% return on your capital if you're relying only on your savings. That's not realistic. But if you can cover $15,000 to $20,000 a year with part-time work or a side income stream, now you only need to generate $20,000 to $25,000 from your $300,000. That's 6.6% to 8.3%. That's realistic. So step 1 is simple, but not easy. Spend the next 90 days tracking every dollar. Figure out your real burn rate, then cut it by 30% to 40% and prove to yourself you can actually live on that amount. If you can't do this, you're not ready to retire early. You're just fantasizing. Step 2 starts in month 4 after you've proven you can live on your reduced burn rate. Now we structure your $300,000 the right way. And this is where most people screw up because they listen to financial advisors who are managing $2 million portfolios and trying to apply the same strategy to $300,000. It doesn't work. Here's how I'd structure $300,000 for early retirement starting today. Bucket 1, $50,000 in cash. This is your emergency fund and your cushion for the first year. It sits in a high-yield savings account earning 4% to 5%. This money is untouchable except for actual emergencies. Bucket 2, $100,000 in dividend-paying stocks. Not growth stocks, not speculative garbage. I'm talking about boring companies that have paid dividends for 40 years straight. Companies that make toothpaste, soap, insurance, electricity. At a 4% dividend yield, $100,000 generates $4,000 per year. That's $330 per month that shows up automatically. Bucket 3, $100,000 in a balanced portfolio of index funds. 60% U.S. stocks, 25% international stocks, 15% bonds. This is your long-term growth money. You don't touch this for at least 5 years. This $100,000 might grow to $160,000 over 10 years if markets perform normally. Bucket 4, $50,000 in opportunistic cash. This is money you keep liquid so you can act when opportunities appear. Maybe in 2 years you find a small rental property that cash flows $600 a month. Or maybe the market crashes 30% and you move this money into stocks at bargain prices. Now let me be very clear. This structure only works if you have additional income coming in. Step 3 starts in month 6. Now we build your side income streams. And I'm not talking about some fantasy passive income where you make money while you sleep doing nothing. I'm talking about real work that you actually enjoy, that pays you $20 to $40 per hour, that you can do 10 to 20 hours per week. If I was retiring early today with $300,000, here's what I'd build. Option 1. Consulting in your field. Whatever you did for work, there are small businesses that need that expertise but can't afford to hire someone full-time. If you were in accounting, you offer bookkeeping services to local small businesses at $50 per hour for 15 hours per week. That's $3,000 per month. If you were in marketing, you help local companies with their social media and websites. You take the expertise you built over 20 years and you sell it on your terms, your schedule, your rates. Option 2. Teaching or tutoring. If you have any specialized knowledge, people will pay you to teach it. Online platforms make this easier than ever. You can work from home, set your own hours, and earn $30 to $60 per hour. 20 hours per week at $40 per hour is $32,100 per month. The goal is simple. By month 6, you have one solid side income stream generating $2,000 to $3,500 per month. Step 4 starts in month 9. Now we optimize your tax situation because every dollar you save in taxes is a dollar you can spend or invest. And most people retiring early make massive tax mistakes that cost them thousands every year. Here's what you need to understand. When you retire early, your tax situation completely changes. You're no longer in a high-income bracket. You're probably in the 12% or 22% federal bracket. And that opens up strategies that didn't make sense when you were working. First, Roth conversions. If you have money in a traditional IRA or 401k, you've been deferring taxes on that money for years. Now is the time to start converting it to a Roth IRA. Why? Because your income is low. If you're living on $40,000 a year and most of that is coming from side income and dividends, you have room in the lower tax brackets to convert $15,000 to $20,000 per year from traditional to Roth and pay maybe 12% tax on it. You pay $2,000 in taxes now to convert $15,000, and that money grows tax-free forever. In 20 years, that $15,000 might be worth $50,000, and you'll never pay another dollar of tax on it. Compare that to waiting until you're 72 and forced to take required minimum distributions at potentially higher tax rates. Second, capital gains harvesting. If you have investments in a taxable brokerage account that have gains, you can sell them and pay zero capital gains tax if your income is low enough. For 2026, if you're single and your taxable income is under $25, or married filing jointly under $94,050, you pay 0% on long-term capital gains. Zero. So if you're living on $40,000 a year, you can realize $20,000 in capital gains, pay zero tax, and immediately buy the same investments back. You just reset your cost basis and save thousands in future taxes. Third, healthcare subsidies. If you retire early before 65, before Medicare kicks in, you need health insurance. And if your income is between $15,000 and $60,000, you qualify for significant subsidies on the healthcare exchanges. I've seen people get $700 per month in subsidies, which means they're paying $200 per month for health insurance instead of $900. But you have to structure your income correctly. Too much income and you lose the subsidies. Not enough and you don't qualify. This is why having flexibility in your income sources matters. Most people don't think about taxes until April 15th. But when you're retiring early with $300,000, tax planning is the difference between making it work and running out of money in 10 years. Subscribe to this channel if you want strategies based on 50 years of real market experience. No hype, just what actually works. Step 5 starts in year 2. Now we build geographic arbitrage into your life. And this is the strategy that separates people who retire early successfully from people who try and fail. Here's the reality. Where you live determines how far your money goes. $40,000 a year in San Francisco is poverty. $40,000 a year in Chattanooga, Tennessee, or Fort Wayne, Indiana, or Pensacola, Florida is a comfortable middle-class life. I'm not telling you to move to some terrible place you hate. I'm telling you to be strategic. If you're committed to retiring early with $300,000, you need to live somewhere that your money actually works. Let me give you real numbers. In a high-cost area, your $40,000 annual budget might look like this. $2,000 per month for a small apartment, that's $24,000. $400 for car insurance and registration because everything is expensive. $300 for utilities. $600 for groceries because food costs more. That's $300 per month just for basics, or $39,600 per year. You have $400 left for everything else. One unexpected expense, and you're in trouble. Now look at a medium cost area. So $200 per month for a nice 2-bedroom house. That's $14,400 per year. $150 for car insurance. $200 for utilities. $450 for groceries. That's $1,800 per month, or $21,600 per year. Now you have $1,400 left for everything else. Same income, same lifestyle, but you just created $18,000 in annual breathing room. That's the difference between stress and comfort. That's the difference between making it work and running out of money. So, in year 2, if you're not already in an affordable area, you consider moving. Not across the country necessarily, maybe just to a suburb 30 miles away where housing costs 40% less, or maybe to a smaller city in your state where everything is cheaper. And here's what nobody tells you. When you're not working full-time, location matters less. You're not commuting. You're not tied to an office. You can live anywhere with decent internet. That freedom is worth more than staying in an expensive city because that's where you've always lived. I've watched people cling to expensive locations for emotional reasons while their bank account slowly bleeds out. Don't be that person. Be ruthless about geography. Step 6 starts in year 3. Now we create your second income stream. By year 3, you should have one solid income stream generating $2,000 to $3,000 per month. But one stream isn't enough for true security. You need a backup if something happens to your primary income, if you get sick, if the market for your services dries up, if you just get burned out. You need another option. Here's how I'd build a second stream in year 3. If your first stream is active income like consulting or tutoring, your second stream should be more passive. Maybe you've been investing your excess cash flow into dividend stocks, and by year 3 those dividends are generating $400 to $600 per month. That's your second stream. Or maybe you saved enough for a down payment on a small rental property, and after expenses it cash flows $500 per month. That's your second stream. Or maybe you built a small online business selling a digital product or a service, and it generates $300 to $800 per month without much active work. That's your second stream. The goal isn't to get rich from the second stream. The goal is redundancy. If your primary income drops from $3,000 to $1,500 for a few months, your second stream of $500 keeps you from dipping into your $300,000. And psychologically, having two income streams changes everything. You stop feeling desperate. You stop feeling like you're one mistake away from disaster. You start feeling like you actually retired early instead of just unemployed with a plan. Most people who fail at early retirement fail because they built their entire life on one income stream. And when that stream dried up, they had no backup. They panicked, burned through savings, and ended up back at a job they hated. You're not going to be that person. By year 3, you have two streams. If you know someone stressed about retirement, share this video with them. Sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is give them the right information at the right time. Step 7 starts in year 5. Now we plan your next decade. If you followed this plan, if you actually did the work, here's where you are by year 5. You're living on $40,000 per year comfortably. You have two income streams generating $2,500 to $4,000 per month. Your $300,000 is still mostly intact because you've been living off income, not principal. Your dividend stocks have grown to $120,000 and are generating $5,000 per year. Your balanced portfolio has grown to $140,000. You have $50,000 in cash. And you have 5 years of proof that this actually works. You're not theorizing anymore. You're not hoping. You know you can do this. But here's the thing. You're not done. You're just getting started because now in year 5, you plan the next 10 years, and the next 10 years are where early retirement becomes real wealth. In years 5 through 15, you have options that didn't exist before. You can take more risk with your opportunistic cash because you have a foundation. Maybe you invest in a small business. Maybe you buy another rental property. Maybe you put more into stocks during a market crash. You can scale back your active income if you want. Maybe you go from 20 hours a week to 10 hours. Maybe you stop entirely because your passive income and dividends are covering enough. You can increase your spending a little because you've proven you can live lean and your income has grown. Maybe you go from $40,000 to $50,000 per year. You can plan for healthcare transition at 65 when Medicare starts, which dramatically reduces your costs. And you can start thinking about what you actually want to do with the next 30 years of your life. Because here's what most people don't understand about early retirement. The first 5 years are about survival. The next 10 years are about thriving. And the 30 years after that are about legacy. You're not retiring early to do nothing. You're retiring early to do work that matters on your terms. Maybe that's mentoring young people in your field. Maybe that's building something you always wanted to build. Maybe it's traveling, spending time with family, pursuing hobbies you never had time for. but you're doing it from a position of financial security instead of desperation. So that's the plan. 7 steps over 5 years. Starting with $300,000 and building a life that most people think is impossible. Let me be very clear about something. This plan works. I know it works because I've watched it work for 50 years. I've seen people retire early with less than $300,000 and build incredible lives. But I've also seen people fail. And they fail for the same reasons every time. They won't cut their spending. They're too attached to their lifestyle. They want to retire early but keep living like they make $80,000 a year. It doesn't work. They won't build multiple income streams. They think retirement means zero work. They retire, sit around for 6 months, get bored, and blow through money because they have nothing productive to do. They won't be strategic about location. They stay in expensive cities for emotional reasons while their money bleeds away. And 5 years later, they're broke and bitter. Don't be that person. If you have $300,000, or you're close to it, you have everything you need to retire early. But only if you're willing to accept reality. Reality is, you'll work part-time doing something you enjoy. Reality is, you'll live in an affordable place. Reality is, you'll spend less than you did when you were working full-time. And reality is, it will be worth it. Because waking up every day and deciding how to spend your time is worth more than any amount of money. I'm 86 years old. I've been doing this for over 50 years. And I'm telling you, if you follow this plan, in 5 years you will have built something that 95% of people never achieve. Financial independence before 60, before 55, maybe even before 50. But you have to start, today, right now. Calculate your burn rate, structure your $300,000, build your first income stream, optimize your taxes, choose your location strategically, create your backup income, and plan your next decade. That's it. That's the whole plan. And it works. Drop a comment telling me which step you're starting with. Subscribe so we keep building this together. And if this helped you, hit like and share it with someone who needs it. I'll see you in the next video.